I think one of the most difficult things for family members who have an alcoholic in their family, certainly a later stage alcoholic, is just coming to terms with the reality and the realization that your loved one has a mental health illness. They're mentally ill. They're basically a drug addict, essentially. And there's not a whole lot you can do to change their behavior, and understanding that it's not really up to you to change their behavior. All you can do is understand how you can react, and you have to put it into context. The most difficult thing that I went through with my wife, and again, I was married for 25 years and she passed away 5 years ago from alcohol use disorder. The most difficult thing was coming home from work and just not having any understanding of what I was coming home to. I mean, was I going to have a sober wife, which was sometimes the case, sometimes not? Was I going to have a semi-sober wife, or was I going to have someone who was completely passed out? And a lot of the times I'd come home and, we're dealing with somebody who had been drinking probably since the time I walked out the door, and they're inebriated on the couch. I mean, there's bottles all over the place, and they're slobbering, and they might even have bodily fluids. They might be sitting in their own bodily fluids. This was a common occurrence, and you get to the point you become very, very callous to that. An outsider who's never had this experience just simply will not understand this and really don't have any concept, and that's okay. But for the families that go through this on a regular basis, they know exactly what I'm talking about. And this video is really about putting the alcoholic in your family, alcoholic in your life, if you've had one past or present, and putting that into context, understanding that they have a mental health illness, and it's brought them to a point where they are chemically, physically, emotionally addicted, and it's become part of their personality, it's become part of their identity. You as a family member, it's kind of too late, for you to do anything. And a lot of people ask me, well, I have this crazy uncle, or I have this, my father, or my spouse, or a sibling, and they're just doing all these crazy things. And it's like, let them do it. They're going to have to find their rock bottom, and it's difficult. You have to get to, really, it's kind of callous, but there's nothing you can do. You cannot want something more for somebody than they want it for themselves. You can bring the horse to water, but you can't make him drink. They have to find something innate in themselves to realize that they are sick and tired of what they're doing to themselves and what they're doing to everybody else. Unfortunately, it's a unique disease that it becomes very self-centered. Okay, it's very narcissistic. Alcoholics, all they care about is getting alcohol. It's not that they don't care about the people in their life, is that they become blissfully unaware of others or how it affects other people in their life. As a family member, you really have to realize you can't take this personally. And that's very difficult to do for many different situations. And let's talk about it. And the most difficult relationship is if you grew up with parents who were alcoholics, and now you're an adult and you need to somehow make amends with all this. They put you through maybe financial problems, physical problems, emotional problems. There was always drama, there was always toxicity, and you grew up in that environment, and now you have a lot of anger and animosity towards your parents. It would be weird if you didn't, okay? But for your own sake, and this video is really, really an Al-Anon-esque video, is that you didn't cause their problem. Their problem existed long before you were in the picture. You were just the recipient of all their dysfunction, okay? And unfortunately, you're the lucky one. You got to be the recipient. And unfortunately, you have to put it in context, work on yourself, and you have to forgive them. Forgive them is, why allow them to take up rent in your brain? Okay, they're still your parents, and if they're still here, and if they're still drinking, maybe you should stay away from them. Go no contact. Every situation is different. Only you can decide that. But putting it into context, like this, they're mentally ill. They are mentally ill, and you grew up around mentally ill people. So understand that. Maybe get some counseling yourself. Come to terms with it, and then go have the life that you deserve. That's what you need to do. Reinvent yourself. Move. Get around people that don't drink. Get around mentally healthy people. That's what you need to do. And I think this is something that I've done personally with my wife. And a lot of people think that I'm being callous because I talk so matter of fact. Well, I mean, I've dealt with it. I've consumed it, and I've been able to put it into perspective. I've long since moved on from the situation with my wife, and really, it was really we were married 25 years, but really she was late stage the last 6 or 7. So it was really the only last 6 or 7 that was all this toxic, craziness that I talk about. But it's important because I realized that she was mentally ill, and she was. There's no question. You're essentially, I mean, she was a drug addict. There's no other way to put it, and she couldn't escape from it because it had consumed her by the time she got to that point. I mean, it was a progression. She drank wine, turned into bottles, turned into bigger bottles, and then turned into anything she could get her hands on. And it went from being a reward system earlier in our marriage to consuming her. That's what her day was. It was getting alcohol, consuming it, and recovering from it. And when you get to that point, it's too late, unless that person really, really wants to get healthy again. And she had her own demons from her childhood, from her past. We will never know, because only that person can know. But as a spouse, as a child, or if you have a child who's an alcoholic, there's a time for tough love, but there's also a time to take care of yourself. And again, the memoir is called Amanda, A Cautionary Tale of Alcoholism. You can find it on Amazon. You can also find it in my link tree. You can get it right on this page right here. Go to the website, PayPal button's right there. Again, I go live Monday through Friday right around 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, or Eastern Standard Time, 6 o'clock Pacific. We have the Facebook group. It's called There's an Alcoholic in the Family. Links in the bio. And when you're ready to work with me one-on-one, set up a breakthrough call. Again, link is in the bio. I'm looking for people who want to change their lives and the lives of their family. And again, thanks so much for listening.